Well, we continue to give you our coverage of the G20 summit. India, as we know, is a key member of the G20. In fact, over the last 3 years, we've had, an influence since India's presidency. India has continuously had a strong and a powerful role to play in the G20. And we are told currently that the G20 declaration has been adopted. We'll be getting you inputs of that once we get them. But for the moment, we continue to be joined by Ambassador Ashok Sajanhar, and he has been putting the entire G20 as a grouping and this particular summit into focus. Ambassador Sajanhar is with us. Ambassador Sajanhar, what do you think, what are the expectations from the Prime Minister's interventions at this summit? Ambassador Sajanhar, maybe you're on mute.
It's on mute.
Yeah, okay, now you can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, what I was saying is that Prime Minister's intervention, he's been invited to speak in all the 3 sessions. So all the issues that are going to be discussed, that is in terms of disaster risk reduction, in terms of the debt burden, reducing the debt burden, in terms of the critical and emerging technologies. So it is not only issues that have been, that are a challenge at the moment, but it is also the new issues on which India has been able to make very significant progress. So I think here what is relevant is that India's voice is one that is trusted, because India has such huge achievements to its credit.
Ambassador Sajanhar, we are getting some more visuals from Johannesburg. We are seeing Prime Minister Narendra Modi in conversation with the various leaders, including the Brazilian President Lula da Silva and other members of the G20. Prime Minister interacting with all the world leaders who are present at the G20 hall. In the background, we see the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, as well. We can see them all seated at the table as well. These are visuals that have just come in from inside the G20 summit hall, and also the Prime Minister's interactions with various leaders. Here he's meeting Lula da Silva, the President of Brazil, who is in Johannesburg, even though the COP30 summit is taking place in his own country, which has been extended because they have not come to an agreement there. We are joined by Dr. Rajan Kumar, who is from the School of International Studies, JNU. Dr. Rajan Kumar, thank you for being with us. So these are visuals that are coming in from Johannesburg of the G20 summit meeting that has taken place, the Leaders Summit. And we are told also that they have adopted a declaration. We are hoping to see what that declaration contains. But Dr. Rajan, if we look at India's influence on the G20, how would you put that into context, especially since India's presidency in 2023? Dr. Rajan Kumar, you're also on mute. If you could unmute yourself. Thank you.
I think I'm on
mute. You're audible, sir. You're audible. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, this is very important because President Trump is not coming. So the countries, South Africa is a very important country from the global South perspective. And Prime Minister Modi is there, and he's making sure that he's speaking in every possible forum. And in the last summit that you know, that G20 summit, we included African Union. So global South has become an important component of global geopolitics today, and also global economy. Africa as a continent, as you know, is extremely important. It's a future continent because it's the most populous. If you see the population in terms of younger population, I see. So demography is completely favorable, and it has massive resources. And the kind of politics that some of the countries are pursuing is also very progressive kind of politics. In that context, when other leaders are not coming, I'm referring to President Trump in a specific, but also Russian president is not there, China's president is not there. So in that context, Prime Minister Modi's presence matters a lot. He is trying to show some kind of solidarity with the countries of the global South. And so far as Africa is concerned, South Africa, as you know, is the most important country. There are other countries which are equally important, Nigeria, etc. But yes, South Africa matters to us for a number of reasons. We are also cooperating in BRICS, etc. In my view, this is an important visit of Prime Minister Modi. This summit is very important because the reason that I said that US is not participating, so it becomes kind of much more important for the emerging country to participate very actively. So from that perspective, I think this is very, very important. In Africa, we are trying to increase cooperation with the countries of South Africa and specifically South Africa. This visit is, in my view, is very, very important. And as I said, that we have increasing trade with Africa. We have been, we have now summit meetings with countries of Africa. And we are providing aid to Africa. So because of all these reasons, this visit of Prime Minister is very important here.
We also have Ambassador Sajanhar continuing to be with us. Ambassador Sajanhar, of course, has been talking to us for a whole hour about the G20. But Ambassador Sajanhar, we put into context also the size of India in terms of Ambassador, I beg your pardon, Professor Rajan Kumar was talking about, the young population. India too has a young population. And also, India's population is about the size of the whole African continent as well. So in this context, India's influence, how would you look at it as a country that is going to play a big role in the future?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mark, you are very right. India's population is very big, and 1.4 billion people here, 1.4 billion people in the 54 countries of South Africa also. So there is synergy also because India has also gone through that developmental process that the African countries are going through now. Meaning we are all aware that, before India was colonized, of course, it accounted for about 25, 27% of the global GDP, of the global trade, global wealth, global riches. But by the time the British left India, it was reduced to just about 3% of the global GDP. And as we were talking earlier, Mark, today that is the situation of Africa also, 1.4 billion people, accounting for barely about 3.5% of the global GDP. So India has gone through that developmental process. So they can definitely take advantage of India in terms of particularly in terms of the social sector, whether it is education, whether it is healthcare. Of course, I'm not trying to suggest that India has been able to achieve all that it could, that it needs to, that it seeks to. But India has made huge progress. That is what we have been discussing. And in that context, India can really prove to be a role model as far as the African countries are concerned. But of course, the young people, they are always in a hurry. We have seen that, in terms of the aspirations of the youth, they are huge. And it is in that context that I was suggesting that human resource development also, as our own educational standards get better, improve, whether it is at the area of college level, university level, vocational education, we see increasing number of Africans who are coming to India. We need to provide them with a safe environment, with a dignified environment so that they feel comfortable here. And, that is the soft power that India has. In addition to, what we were talking earlier,
Right.
in terms of economic advantages and benefits, setting up projects in these countries, I think this is the soft power, not only of
Right.
culture, but also of education, of healthcare,
Yes.
which India can use to their advantage. And
Ambassador
definitely
Sajjanhar and Dr. Rajan Kumar, I'd like to stop you for the moment because we're going to hear the opening remarks of Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of South Africa, the host country of the G20 summit this year. We are going to listen to him now.
Sure.
Good morning, Your Excellency, heads of state and government, members and invited guests, heads of regional economic communities, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, all guests who are gathered here. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome you as South Africa to this very first G20 Leaders Summit to be held on African soil. We gather here at the cradle of humanity in Africa to affirm our common humanity. We gather here to affirm the value of partnership and cooperation to finding common solutions to shared problems. Shortly before the dawn of democracy in South Africa, the father of our democracy, Nelson Mandela, said, "The time has come for South Africa to take up its rightful and responsible place in the community of nations." Today, as we open this G20 Leader Summit, South Africa is deeply aware of the profound responsibility that membership of the community of nations places upon us. We also understand the responsibility of being entrusted with the presidency of the G20. In the execution of its task as president of the G20, South Africa has, throughout the past year, through its stewardship of some 130 meetings in various parts of South Africa, in other countries on the African continent, and beyond our shores, including at the United Nations, we have sought to undertake this task with care, with dignity, and with diligence. We have sought at all times to preserve the integrity and the stature of the G20, a premier forum of international economic cooperation. From its initial focus on broad macroeconomic issues, the G20 is now engaged on matters such as trade, sustainable development, health, education, science and technology, agriculture, energy, the environment, climate change, and many others. It has therefore broadened its scope as the challenges of the peoples of the world requires that they should be addressed. As the G20 countries, we understand that progress on each and all of these issues is a necessary condition for strong, sustainable, balanced, and inclusive growth. In pursuit of and in conformity with the founding mission of the G20, South Africa adopted the theme Solidarity, Equality, and Sustainability for its presidency in 2025. Through solidarity, we can create an inclusive future that advances the interests of people around the world who are at the greatest risk of being left behind. This is important in an interconnected world where the challenge faced by one nation affects all other nations. By promoting equality, we strive to ensure fair treatment and equal opportunities for the individuals and nations of the world. The disparities in wealth and development within and between nations is not only unjust and unsustainable, it is also one of the greatest impediments to sustainable development. It is essential that we break down divisions of economic status, of gender, of race, and geography. Sustainability involves meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. As a founding member of the G20, South Africa has sought to ensure that the development priorities of the Global South and the African continent find expression firmly and permanently on the agenda of the G20. This is important not only for the people of Africa and the Global South. It is vital for global stability and security, alleviating resource pressures, managing population movements, and reducing the risk of conflict. We seek stability because it attracts investment, it improves planning and reduces the risk of global economic shocks. And we prioritize inclusive and vibrant markets because they are able to drive innovation and efficiency. Thriving economies lift people out of poverty. They encourage greater investment and trade, and they generate the revenue needed to invest in public goods. The threats facing humanity today, from escalating geopolitical tensions, global warming, pandemics, energy and food insecurity, to inequality, unemployment, extreme poverty, and armed conflict, jeopardize our collective future. It is therefore essential that we make greater and faster progress towards the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. We welcome the Seville Commitment adopted in June this year, which sets forth a renewed global framework for financing for development. We must use this framework to catalyze development investments at scale in developing economy countries. We must continue the reform of the international financial architecture, ensuring that institutions are strengthened and are more inclusive and are equipped to meet the challenges both of the present and the future. At the beginning of our G20 presidency, we identified 4 high-level priorities. Firstly, we focus on action to strengthen disaster resilience and response. While climate-induced natural disasters affect countries around the world, they have a particularly devastating impact on countries that cannot afford the costs of recovery and rebuilding. We have agreed that it is essential for the global community, international finance institutions, development banks, and the private sector to scale up post-disaster construction. Secondly, we agreed that we must take action to ensure debt sustainability for low-income countries. The G20 needs to renew its efforts to advance debt sustainability while at the same time laying emphasis on those countries in the global south that are suffering from debt repayments. Thirdly, we said we should mobilize finance for a just energy transition, increasing the quality and quantity of climate finance flows to developing economy countries. Fourthly, we emphasized the importance of harnessing critical minerals for inclusive growth and sustainable development through the beneficiation of the minerals at the place of extraction. In addition to these four priorities, we have prioritized issues of inclusive economic growth, industrialization, inequality, unemployment, and security and artificial intelligence. Much of the work of the past year will be presented and considered at this meeting. We commend in particular the G20 at 20 review, which provides a detailed account of the path that this organization has traversed as the G20. It describes both our achievements and our challenges and makes proposals on how we can organize ourselves to be more focused on our core mandate. We welcome the work of the G20 Africa Expert Panel, which was led by South Africa's former Minister of Finance, Mr. Trevor Manuel. The panel argues that African efforts to accelerate productive investments require new global partnerships and strong multilateral cooperation. It calls on the G20 to support this effort by building a global policy framework that unlocks long-term finance and lower costs and investment at scale. We are also grateful for the work of the G20 Extraordinary Committee of Independent Experts on Global Inequality that was led by Professor Joseph Stiglitz, a Nobel laureate. The recommendations of the Extraordinary Committee provide a solid platform on which to launch a renewed global effort to tackle inequality. As this is the first G20 Leaders Summit to be held in Africa, it carries the hopes and must reflect the aspirations of the people of this continent and of the world. We should not allow anything to diminish the value, the stature, and the impact of the first African G20 presidency. This G20 Leaders Summit has a responsibility not to allow the integrity and the credibility of the G20 to be weakened. In fact, from this summit, we should have a sense that the G20 has been strengthened. We thank all delegations that have worked together with us in good faith to produce a worthy G20 outcome document for this historic leaders' meeting. The G20 underscores the value of the relevance of multilateralism. It recognizes that the challenges that we face can only be resolved through cooperation, collaboration, and partnership. The adoption of the declaration from the summit sends an important signal to the world that multilateralism can and does deliver. It sends a message of hope and solidarity across the world. It tells the world that as the leaders of the G20, we will keep fast to our solemn pledge to leave no person, no community, and no country behind. With those words, I therefore declare the G20 Leaders Summit open, and thank you. Your Excellencies, please allow me to take you through day one of the program. Session one will focus on inclusive and sustainable economic growth. This session will be followed by presentations of the recommendations of the reports of the Africa Expert Panel and the Extraordinary Committee of Independent Experts on Global Inequality. We will then have a working lunch, and this will be followed by a family photo. And I thank you for your attention and look forward to a fruitful discussion. Now, in discussions with a number of delegations here, there's been overwhelming consensus and agreement that one of the other tasks we should undertake right at the beginning is to execute the task that we have come here for principally, which is by overwhelming consensus to adopt our declaration. Now, I should precede this by remembering what a Roman philosopher called Pliny, the elder, once said. He said to have said, ex Africa semper aliquid novi, meaning out of Africa there is always something new. So something new always does come out of Africa. So with that, we would like, therefore, okay. I'm told that the cameras are still on, they should be off. I don't know why that is so. With that, we would like, therefore, with a consensus that has emerged through the work that has been done over the whole year and the 130 meetings that have been held where each sector has been able to reach agreement, would like, therefore, to put the proposed declaration as the G20 South Africa Summit Leaders Declaration, to put it forward for your adoption.
Well, that was the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, who is currently the chair of the G20, giving his opening remarks at the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg. And he spoke about various issues. He spoke about how Africa is the cradle of civilization, the cradle of humanity, and that the purpose of the G20 is really to find common solutions to shared problems of the world. And he highlighted the importance of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which should be achieved by the year 2030. Amongst them, he also talked about the reform of international financial institutions, an important part of the agenda. And we are going to be playing out some shots for you right now, and I will be speaking over them. But these are shots of Prime Minister Narendra Modi earlier meeting. But as I was saying about the remarks made by President Ramaphosa, we can see that he spoke about disaster resistance and response, debt sustainability for the poorer countries, finance for energy transition, and inclusive economic growth. He also talked about how the G20 has a responsibility not to allow itself to be weakened, and the message that should go out from this G20 summit is that the G20 has become strengthened. He also spoke about the relevance of multilateralism and the importance of building partnerships, and the message that should come out from this G20 summit is that multilateralism can and does succeed and deliver. So he also spoke about the message that the G20 is giving, which is to leave no country behind. And he talked about how they are going to be adopted. They did adopt the declaration. He spoke about 130 meetings that took place over the year, and those meetings have resulted in the adoption of the declaration. Finally, he did quote a Roman philosopher, and he said that in Latin, that out of Africa there is something new that always comes. And so hence he looks at this particular G20 summit as delivering something new. Thanks for watching for the moment, but we'll continue to give you updates from Johannesburg in our subsequent programs. Namaskar.